Hey everybody, I'm Brad. We're here today showing off a deck that I've been playing since release. It is Kashtira. It's the deck that looks the same for everybody. My deck's just a smidge different. I'll go through my differences, but I've been on a complete tear with this. I got my invite with it at Indy. I topped 2 back-to-back case tournaments before that. Had a 26-0 streak at a local. Had a 19-0 streak at a local. I bubbled yesterday at a TCG con because, Brad forgets how to play cards. But I have been on a complete tear with this deck. I think Cash, in the format that Konami created for it, Cash is the best deck. However, if Tier would have lived, this deck would not be the best deck. It is very fragile. However, with the limited amount of cards that can be played as tech cards, it's harder to out the deck than it should be. But shout outs to Matthew Kroll, Jake Kroll, my teammates part of Team EMG, my co-captains as we call them, and they've helped me make the deck super pretty. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So cash lineup, 3 unis, obviously this card's the best card in the deck, and 3 Fenrir, which is the second best card in the deck. Let me just throw my stuff all over the place. These are standard in every cash list. If you're playing less than 3 of these, you're just not playing the deck right. 2 Rise Heart. Everybody can cut it to 1. Everybody cuts it to 1. There are people that cut it to 3, or that have it at 3. I think 2 is just great. If you open this in Birth, it's the same as opening Fenrir in Birth. I really like a Rise Heart. It's a It's a good starter. I just like it at 2. I've not played it any more than less than 2 or any more than 2 since I've started picking up the deck. And 2 Scareclaw. This card is wacko against Towers monsters. This is your out to Dragoon, you're out to Crusadia Avermax. This card just helps out a lot of the problems that this deck can run into from a monster standpoint. And I played 1 Tier Elements Kashtira. If you need a birth target and you need something in the grave, this is really nice. It's another extender just like Scareclaw. It can help you when you need to. It also helps thin your deck when you're at a point when you have everything established. You don't need to see all of your cards. You don't need to see all of the chalices or all the lances. So it helps get your deck. If it's not hitting Kashtira names to help you with your birth, it's hitting cards out of the deck you don't need to see. And then the 1 Ogre. I like him because he's a name. He's a card I can special. He's a card that I can Theosis to get me some different stuff going on. I've thought about cutting him, but because you'll see later, I don't play the preparations, but adding the Big Bang and having the Zone Lock is why you need him. So I do play 13. I do play 13 cash monsters. I just feel like you have to see them, or 12. Yeah, I play 12 cash monsters. You just have to see them. And then I play 3 Ash because it's the best card. It hits Branded Fusion, it hits some Runic, it hits Fountain, it hits Fusion. It hits the problems that the deck can run into. It's the best card. It's the best hand trap of the format by far. So the monster count is 15 monsters. Spell lineup, your 4 planets, and I do say 4 because everybody knows why. Terraforming, yeah. 4 planets. Planets is insane. It's the second best of the primeval planets. It's the second best out of the planet sagas. Pyrrolino's the best one, and everybody knows it. 3 Theosis and 3 Birth. You have to see these cards to keep going. Birth is insane. Against Runic, when they activate the Fountain, before they activate the effect, you can just banish all their targets. It really puts us branded. If they activate Branded Fusion in Resolution, you can banish the Fallen of Albaz so they can't keep going in their combo. The second effect of this card is so hiddenly good that you just have to play 3. It allows you to just keep your combo going. Everybody knows what Theosis does. This card is an E-Telly for the deck. So good. From a cash lineup, I will just show the last cash card. I do play the Big Bang. Having an evenly where you get to keep your Rise Heart, you can stop a lot of decks in their track if they keep going. This card's too good. Plus the fact that you can get your Fenrir back in your combo. Card's nasty. I do play 3 Crossout, and I do play the 4 cards in my deck that are specifically for Crossout. But before I show the 4 cards that I chose that I'm more scared of, This card is just insane against the mirror, or even if you're going first and you just need a monster on board and you open like a Theosis, you can cross out, call the monster, get it to the field with, or I'm sorry, if you open Birth and Theosis but no monster, but you open the cross out, you can activate cross out, banish your Fenrir, banish your Unicorn, whichever one you need to get, whichever one you want to start your play with, and then activate Birth to bring it back, and then Theosis to keep your plays going. So cross out actually helps gets cards banished, and it's better than Psybeast because it's also multi-purpose throughout. Throughout other archetypes, you can hit just generically good cards. The 4 main deck cards that I am playing for cross-out targets, I am playing Book of Eclipse. I've thought about cutting this, honestly, because you have Ash, and it is my 41st card just because I don't want to get hit by a Book of Eclipse. I play 1 Imperm. I do not play any more than 1. I don't like it at more than 1 in this deck because I do play another card you'll find later. Against Trap Trick, this card is dead. I want to use this card to protect my board more than I want to hurt my opponent. I play the 1 Nib in the main, well, because it's Nib. Nib hurts the whole deck. If you go for the 5 zone, and you got to have Nib. And I do play a main deck evenly. These are my 4 that I specifically main for crossout. It's worked for me so far. I play 5 technical draw cards. I play 2 Prosperity, a Desires, and 2 Talents. The Talents has more purpose than just drawing, and even if you draw it off of a Prosperity, this card can do a lot of damage to your opponent, and you'll see why with my side. I've really thought about upping it to 2 Desires and a Prosperity. I don't like the lists that are playing 3 Prosperity, 2 Desires, because if you draw these 2 in the same hand, one of them's dead. And I would rather, the rationalization for right now is I'd rather have my extra deck banished so I can get my Goliath to protect my Arise Heart than have my main deck banished, but I'm kind of iffy on this. This might change later. Talents is just too darn good. I will not play this deck without it. It helps in the mirror. I get to take your Arise Heart and then stack my Zeus on it. I get to take your Arise Heart and I get to stack my own on top of it. Like, this card's just crazy. And I play 3 Forbidden cards. I play 2 Lance and a Chalice. This is why I don't play the Imperm. I would rather have Chalice against Trap Trick. I mean, it's one of those decks where you want to be a little prepared for it. The whole main deck plays against Trap Trick extremely well. But I feel like I only play these for Trap Trick. Protecting from Floodgate, protecting from Imperm, and then the Chalice helps me out of Seraph. I see it. It's also a good cheeky one of if I'm going second and they've got a problem card, I can just Chalice it to keep going. So main deck is 41 cards. Like I said, there's a few things I would change. I've toyed with this entire main deck throughout me playing it. When I first put it together, it was all Zone Lock. Then I switched to the Control version, and now I'm just back to Zone Lock because everybody's hitting the Control version. But 41 in the main. We'll go side deck first, mainly because since the main deck's so fresh, I can explain. I do play 2 D-Shifter. Arise Heart is its own, but against a lot of decks in the format, having Shifter on their turn 1, all of the Trap Trick traps go to the graveyard. All of the Math Mechs that need to keep going go to the graveyard, or go, like, decks play out of the graveyard. This is my Rogue side card because you don't know what you're going to play for Rogue, but this stops most Rogue decks these days. So 2 Shifter, 3 Bell. This card is really good against Naturia. This card's really good against Runic. This card's really good in the mirror. It stops Birth. Against most decks where Bell is good, Ash isn't, so it's a very good just trade out. 2 Sticky String. So I do play 2 level 7 Kaijus for cash, and the reason for that is you can't just rely on your tactics to take the card because of Lance. So if I can Kaiju and a Rise Heart, or Kaiju whatever the problem is, if I can Kaiju the Arise Heart, or Kaiju whatever the problem is, I can essentially change a heart, which you'll see in a second, change a heart or tactics to get this back to get a free 7 on my board to keep going. I really liked the 7 idea, and it actually has panned out. I do play 3 cheeky 1-up spells because I really couldn't find a 15th card. My 15th side deck I'll show in a second. I play Harpy's Feather Duster and Change of Heart. These are just 2 blowout cards going second. Change of Heart will be in every side deck I play until the card gets rebanned, because they should have never brought this back. And I do play 1 Thrust because it's essentially another copy of these 2. It's my Terraforming if I need it. It's my Evenly Matched if they've stopped me early. This is essentially just a 1 more, and I really needed a 15th card, so this was what I decided. I did play the second and third Evenly Matched because this is the best card of the format. I don't care what anybody says. This is the best single one-of card, or the single card in the format that does the most damage. It shapes the way people play along with Nib, except Evenly Matched just does more than Nib. I do play 2 D-Barrier. Sword Soul's kind of a problem. Sword Soul is kind of a problem, so I play the D-Barriers for Sword Soul. And I do play the 1-a-pointer because I do main deck triple attack. And this right here is a modern day Del Duo, and it is one of the funniest things to pull off against your opponent. And modern day Del Duo is really nice. Extra deck, it's a little different than most cash players, but it's not too much different. I played 2 Arise instead of 3. I needed to make space for another card, and since I'm not playing the control variant, I can typically win if I drop this card on the board. Making 2 in 1 turn is really funny as well. I played 2 Shangri-Era because I am going for the Zone Lock. I played 2 Big Eye because this is the best card for the mirror. Helps you deal with problem cards. If you, it's too good to not play it more than 2 or less than 2. 2 Zeus because wiping a Labyrinth back row, wiping a Trap Trick board. This card's too good, and it makes it to where your opponent can't just make an easy, oh, I'm gonna rip this, and you can't play, and you don't have your board wiped. So that's all the 2 ofs. Those are the ones I want to protect to keep seeing. When it comes to the rest, I do play a Draco Sack. It's my out to Skill Drain, Rivalry, Gozen. It's an out card. Diabolosis because of obviously Zone Lock, and Red Ice Flare for time. I've honestly thought about cutting this card, but I know my luck. The second I cut it, it's when I'm going to need it. This deck does not go into time much because typically it's your opponent knows what you're doing, so they know if they can beat it or not. For links, I do play Donner. Change of Heart and Tactics. When you snatch cards, if it's not in the mirror, you need to be able to get rid of it to not give your opponent back. So like stealing a Chi-Chow and linking into Donner to then pop another card on their field. So that's a 2-for-1, and it clears your board to be able to just special summon a Unicorn and keep going. I do play Lingaribo. I feel as if you don't have to play this anymore, but at the same time, it goes to the same standard as Red Eyes. The second I cut it, it's the second I get hit with a Nibbly and I can't play. Goliath to protect my Arise Heart, and my Baron. I've only summoned this 1 time, but it's a good emergency card. If your Unicorn or your Fenrir, whatever your starter is, gets hit, and you normal summon the Ash or the Bell, it gets you right into a Baron. I would rather have a blank or a once negate that can negate any effect than either have the Ash or the Bell, which are specifics. But if I can build the board, I'm going to build the board before I make the Baron. The Baron's just my emergency blanket. Other than that, everybody knows the combos. Yeah, I guess that's what I got.
All right. On standby.
Thank you, guys.